It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. A man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Chances are you will learn something and along the way get to hear some great music from bands you may have missed. The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
Good morning, Beaumont. Well, it's a Saturday show. We're going to be with you here for a full hour today. And, of course, we're also on Rumble on the Doc Greene channel and on YouTube on the Doc Greene channel. Appreciate it if you'd like and share, give us a thumbs up, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to put on here today has got a video component to it. And it's a lot more fun if you watch the video. But if you're driving around town trying to make Beaumont great, well, in that case, just listen to the radio. So I want to start off with, one of our very favorite communists, and that would be Bernard Sanders. Now, Bernard Sanders is a communist. He hates capitalism. The fact that he owns 4 multi-million-dollar mansions has nothing to do with it. But I want to get his input on the Schumer shutdown and maybe make a couple of comments of my own.
Thanks very much for joining me. I think there's a lot of confusion out there regarding the government shutdown. How did it happen? Why is it continuing? How do we resolve it? I think these are the questions that are on people's minds. So let me just say a few words about that. Without boring you about Senate rules, the shutdown took place 5 weeks ago because the majority party, in this case the Republicans, need 60 votes in order to pass a government budget. They only have 53 votes.
Yes, it's true that the Republicans have 53 votes, but the problem is 5 of those are Democrats pretending to be Republicans, and lately Rand Paul has joined that group.
The Democratic caucus has 47. And what has always happened under these circumstances is that the majority party sits down and negotiates with the minority in order to get the 60 votes. That always happens, except now. For the first time that anyone can remember, Republicans have said it is our way or the highway.
This, once again, is a simple case where an allegedly educated Democrat is unable to recall the quote, "It's my way or the highway."
We are not negotiating it. You take it or you leave it, and that's the way it is. And then, to add insult to injury, to make it clear that they have no intention of negotiating, unbelievably, at a time when federal employees are not getting paychecks, when kids are being threatened without getting the nutrition they need through the SNAP program, when air traffic controllers are not being paid, in the midst of all of that, the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has given his members of the House of Representatives, a 6-week paid vacation.
Really not a paid vacation. You have to understand that these people represent the districts that they live in, and they've returned home, and now they've got a chance to interface with the people that they actually represent. And that would be a good thing, not a bad thing. I should also remind you that Senator Kennedy tried to bring in an amendment that would not allow any of the congressmen or senators to be paid during the shutdown. But Rand Paul, a lately reliable leftist voter, come up and said, "Oh no, you're not cutting my paycheck."
Incredibly, they are not here in Washington, D.C. They are home. God knows doing what. So in the midst of a government crisis, but the Republicans of the House have said, you don't have to come to work. I mean, that's really quite unbelievable. So what are the issues that need to be negotiated? When we talk about negotiations, what are we talking about? And let me tell you what they are. If Democrats, and myself as an independent, were to agree to the Republican clean resolution, it would mean that over 20 million Americans would see a doubling in their health care premiums through the Affordable Care Act. 20 million. That's on average. In my state of Vermont, I'm hearing from people who are looking at a tripling or a quadrupling of their health insurance premiums. People cannot afford that.
I guarantee you people cannot afford that. My son's health insurance, he's a teacher, his wife's a teacher, their insurance premiums tripled under the, quote, Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare.
And as a result, people will lose their health care. Further, if we would agree with the Republican proposal to pass their clean resolution, it would mean that 15 million Americans will next year be thrown off the health care they currently have, because in Trump's big, beautiful bill, the Republicans made massive cuts to Medicaid. And there are studies out there, and this point is not being made enough. There are studies out there that show that some 50,000 of our fellow Americans, lower income and working class people, will die unnecessarily every year.
Once again, Democrats never found a lie that they would not tell. The real problem here is that there are a whole lot of people getting Medicaid and Medicare that aren't even American citizens. Some estimates show as many as 69% of the people on Medicaid are not American citizens and are not entitled to any help.
Because of that reality, 15 million people being thrown off their health care. It would also mean, if I voted yes to open the government tomorrow, that nursing homes, rural hospitals, community health centers will be devastated because of cuts in government funding. They will have to, in some cases, close down, and in other cases, just limit the number of people they can provide health care to. And by the way, I should mention, as many of you know, that all of those massive cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act were done for one reason, and that is to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. Well, you may disagree with me, but I happen not to believe that Elon Musk, worth $500 billion, or Jeff Bezos, or Mark Zuckerberg, or Larry Ellison, or the other multi-billionaires need a tax break which results in millions of people losing their health care. Just think about it. Tax breaks for Elon Musk and people losing the health care they need to stay alive. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, for those of you who may be following inside the Beltway politics, you may have heard that there are certain negotiations going on between moderate Democrats and Republicans. And I must tell you that I am strongly opposed to the proposal that is being floated about. What the proposal suggests is that Democrats will be given the opportunity to write their own bill to extend the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, and that they will be able, that the Republican leadership will give them a vote on it. In exchange, they will vote for a Republican proposal to reopen the government. Sounds good. Good idea, right? It is not. The devil is in the details. The Republicans would agree to Democrats writing a health care bill because they know that even if that proposal were to pass here in the Senate, it would go nowhere in the House. House would not entertain it. And if by some amazing chance it were to pass in the House, Donald Trump would veto it. So in other words, it amounts to an empty gesture. Some of my colleagues would feel great. They can go back home and they say, you know what, I cast the vote. Here's the bill that I voted for, great bill. It would have prevented your health care premiums from doubling. It would have prevented millions from losing their health care. Hey, I'm a great guy. But they understand that that bill was doomed to go nowhere in a hurry. It would do absolutely nothing to protect the health care needs of the American people. And that is not something that I can support, nor should any other member of the Senate. Now, as some of you know, importantly, there were elections yesterday all across the country, significantly in in New Jersey, in Virginia, in New York City, and elsewhere. And the reality is that from one end of this country to the other, from California to New York, Democrats did very well. And there are a lot of reasons why people win elections, that's for sure. But one of the reasons, in my view, is that people are sick and tired of the Republican attack against the working families of this country. And the reality that Republicans would double their premiums, throw 15 million people off of health care in order to give tax breaks to the very richest people in America. That is not a message, frankly, that resonates any place in America. That's what the Republicans had to defend. And you know what? The American people said, no way, you're wrong. Even Donald Trump, interestingly enough, just acknowledged this morning that the shutdown has been, quote, worse for us Republicans than for them. And that Republicans are getting killed. That's Donald Trump. And he's right. He's right. The Republicans are getting killed because the American people, understandably, can't afford to see a doubling in their health care premiums in order to give tax breaks to billionaires. That's why the Republicans are losing on this issue. And it's not just yesterday's elections. Poll after poll says the same thing. People are holding Republicans accountable for the shutdown because they refuse to negotiate to protect the health care of millions of Americans. Now, I want to see this shutdown ended as soon as possible, and so do you. It is hurting a lot of people. And what we need, what we desperately need, is an agreement on legislation that will really and truly protect the health care needs of the American people. And that legislation that we agree on, the proposal that we agree on, must have a guarantee that it will pass the House and that it will be signed by the President. Otherwise, it is a meaningless gesture. That is the commitment that we need.
And with many other words, he did exhort them. We'll be right back in the next segment, so stick around today. Got a full hour show. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.
Go ahead. Make my day. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Please return to the Doc Greene Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
The doctor is in.
It has come to my attention that a good lot of you have no idea who Charlie Kirk is. You've never listened to his show. Well, here's a little piece of Charlie Kirk from a college visit that he made.
Give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
How I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough
Are you?
to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up. I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually.
Okay,
I'm not prejudicing you. I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying that it's a material.
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so and so
correct.
Qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is the charter mission.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. is about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Okay, but you have to also take into the fact that black people have only been able to completely legally be able to make profit for themselves for around 60 years. And this is since segregation ended in 1965 and the Equal Rights Act in 1965. So what you're telling, there's not.
How does that? So let's talk about you. How did that impact you? How did something that happened 60 years ago impact your life?
It impacts me all the time.
How?
What do you? Okay.
You're at Texas A&M. You're doing great.
Okay. Yes. Sure. Yeah.
So aren't you a living example that all that's a bunch of nonsense and you could just act good and behave well and succeed?
But there's also living examples of the exact opposite. If you look in the impoverished neighborhoods in certain parts of Chicago or St. Louis, there's black communities being thrown aside because they're not getting education.
Thrown aside? Okay,
yes,
so
aside.
I think we can get somewhere. Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the years.
Hold on. Think about it. So they were richer when we were segregated and more racist. America's become less racist.
What about Tulsa?
Yeah, no one's going to defend what happened in Tulsa again. But let's talk.
But
we're talking about a lot of different cities. We're talking about Chicago, Tulsa. But let's again. This is a very important point. Do you think the fact that 70% of black youth don't have a dad around is probably pretty important?
That's because of the culture.
So respectfully allow me to interject. How does the white culture impact the fact whether or not a black dad stays around when he impregnates a woman?
I'm not saying it's the white culture.
What is it?
The culture that has been perpetuated through the 200 years of slavery, the 100 years of segregation, and Jim Crow laws.
The marriage, so I got to interject again. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt too much. But in 1960, before the Civil Rights Act, 20% of black youth had a dad around. Now it's, 20% were single fathers, 80% had a dad around. It's been inverted. So we actually have seen black dads run away from their kids the last 60 years. Why is that?
Because of the raised incarceration rates, because of the perpetuated culture.
So how does one go to jail?
That's obvious. I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, so maybe it's because they committed crimes?
Okay, but when you're forced it's not just this is old, this is in the past, this doesn't affect you anymore.
Okay, so let's take a different group. How did the Holocaust impact Jews? They're doing pretty well.
Well, because they got reparations, we didn't.
How? What reparations did the Jews get?
Through acknowledgement, through money, through
we acknowledge slavery happened.
Okay, but you're sitting here and acting like it plays no role.
No, but to your argument, the Holocaust was 80 years ago. Half of all the Jews on the planet were killed. Everything they earned was taken. Jews are doing great. If all of a sudden something that happened 80 years ago impacts your material prosperity, how did Jews defy the curve? How did poor Asians do so well? Why is it that Asians are now the wealthiest minority in America, many of whom came with no money in the 1950s or 60s?
Because of the culture and opportunities that were provided to them.
But you're not hearing me out. Black Americans have had the same opportunities. However,
people still look at us like criminals every day.
Hold on, but I don't look at you like a criminal.
I'm not saying you do. I'm saying some people do.
But I mean, do you want me to be brutally honest with you, or do you want me to be politically correct?
Yes, be brutally honest with me.
Okay. Do black people commit more crimes than white people? It's not even close.
Okay. But you have to take into account the culture that has been perpetuated.
Okay, got it. So we can agree on this. Do you mean internal black culture?
It's not. It's deeper than that.
Do you think? Let's take time out. Do you think the average rap artist that a black kid in the hood is listening to is glorifying marriage and family and saving your money?
That's what sells because it's a culture thing. It's not just within the black community.
I agree. No, but hold on.
Everyone listens to it. It's not just isolated.
It's bad for everyone who listens to it. The point being is that black youth, as they are being raised, their role models are largely not glorifying staying with one woman, getting married, going to church. And if you're wrong, show me the black role models that are doing that. There might be a couple I could think of, maybe. But if it's about culture, you're right. The internal black culture has collapsed the last 60 years. We're no longer elevating the family. We're no longer elevating staying with the person that you're with. So our contention here as conservatives is that the systemic racism stuff is a bunch of rubbish. Instead, it's systemic bad choices.
Do you feel that systemic racism isn't real?
Of course not. What can I do that you can't do? Name it.
Okay.
No, seriously. What can I do that you can't do?
Fallacy. That's a slippery slope.
No, it's not.
I don't know why.
Very simple. No, because back in 1940, you would have been able to answer that question. Well, Charlie, there's a bathroom over there that I can't go to. There's a major league team.
I can't walk into the grocery store and get the same looks that you do. I walked into Brookshire Brothers a couple of weeks ago when I was looked at.
That's an insanely hyper paranoid way of living life. But that's not evidence, right?
It's a real example.
By the way, if I walk into a black neighborhood, I get bad looks too. Okay, so I don't know what the contention is.
Because of the way you treat our culture and the way you perpetuate.
Oh, wait, hold on. The way we treat your culture, we have gone to such great calisthenics and ridiculous gymnastics to prove that we're not racist. In fact, it's the worst thing that you could be called in America. We had, during George Floyd 2020, we had hundreds of millions of dollars given to Black Lives Matter. I don't know where that money went. Did it improve material worth of black America? So, I mean, and we actually do know where it went, actually. And so, but going back to your main contention, when you practice DEI, because that was your main point, right? You are rewarding bad culture. You even acknowledge it. You are saying that someone should be there based on the color of their skin. We say skin color doesn't matter. If you want that position, work harder, study harder, and then you might be able to get that position.
When we're forced into underfunded communities where schools are based off of property value, we can't.
Well, actually, school choice is now the law of the land here in Texas, so that's not correct. Secondly,
do you just expect a single-parent home to pick up and move into some rich neighborhood?
Well, again, so let's go back to why are they the single-parent home?
Because the hundreds of years.
Do you believe in the maxim or the belief that you should take responsibility for your decisions?
It's not just one person's decisions. It's so much deeper than that.
See,
why are you trying to?
That's where you and I have a different belief. You believe in this.
It's not. It's a fact.
No, it's a belief. Again, you have to tell me then, why do Jews do so well? Holocaust didn't impact their material worth. How did Asians do so well? And by the way, even more so, why are Hispanics getting so much wealthier? If we were so racist, why are Hispanics all of a sudden gaining income the last 20 years? There's something.
It's a difference in culture. I don't know why y'all are clapping. But it's a difference in culture. The way that each culture is treated is so vastly different in America.
But again, you have to tell me, other than bad looks at the grocery store, how else is your future, you as a man in America, not a black man, how is your future somehow restricted by racism?
My natural hair is seen as unprofessional when I go into an office or workplace. When I walk around in certain places, people just assume, like I've said earlier, the dirty looks. When people think you are automatically the worst of the worst solely because
we don't think that.
You've interrupted me like 10 times
because
now.
You think you know what white people think, and you don't.
I don't know what white people think.
Then why do you keep on saying you know what white people think?
Because I've seen it. I'm not
you've
saying
seen our thoughts?
I've seen what people have done to me and people who look like me around the world and in America.
How? Again, you are. Let's just make an example. You are here in the wealthiest country ever,
yes,
at an amazing university with all the opportunity imaginable in front of you. And all you want to do is look backwards at everything that prevented you when you are a glaring example that there is no systemic racism and you can actually achieve your wildest dreams.
Whoa, I never said that. I'm not the only black person who exists out there. There's so many people who this culture is affecting to this day.
Do you know black Americans are the richest black people on earth? You cannot find a black majority country or any country where black people have significant representation where they are as wealthy, because even the poorest people in America are in the top 5%, the top 2% of wealth around the world. And so my whole belief is stop acting like you're a victim and start making better choices.
Not acting like a victim, whoa. This is not a victim mentality.
No, it fundamentally is, because white people are not out to get you. There is nothing holding black people back. Let me say that again. There is nothing holding black people back. In fact, the opposite. You can get into colleges with lower test scores.
But
you could say things that white people can't say and not be fired for it. Black people are wildly disrepresentation.
Well, people say that to me all the time, and they just walk around like it doesn't mean anything around here.
Say what? Say the what?
The N-word. I'm not going to say it on this public platform, but people say it to me all the time.
Derogatorily.
Yes.
No, I think you're lying.
Why would I be lying
So
about
you're
this?
trying to tell me at this campus, did you report it to student services?
I'm not. I have too much on my plate to worry about this.
So you're going to say at this campus, you're going to indict the moral character of Texas A&M.
I'm not indicting the moral character of Texas
you are.
A&M.
You're saying that.
I'm indicting the moral character of one person or a few people.
Oh, well, now it's one. So you heard it all the time, and now it's one. Got it. So
it's not okay. You're
no, but
taking me
this
out
is
of
the point:
context,
is that I don't believe you because now you resort back to a race hoax to make it seem as if the white kids on this campus are like racist and terrible.
White kids.
Oh, so was it a black guy that said it to you?
I'm not.
It matters a lot because this is how lies are able to grow. Jussie Smollett, we see this. You have to challenge them head on.
Do you think I'm lying when I say that people say the N-word around here? And just
if I think a white person comes up to you derogatorily and says, "Shut up, N-word," I'm
not saying they said it.
I said, are they saying it derogatorily?
But that doesn't mean it's word for word like that.
But okay, so then it's not an insult then. So then don't bring it up as if it's evidence of racism.
Because you brought the N-word up first. I didn't.
No, I didn't.
No. You specifically said, name me an instance of the N-word.
No, I said black people can say things that white people can't say. Of course that's true.
But that's automatically implying that one word.
It's more than that. But let me just kind of build this out further.
What is it then?
There's a lot of things black people can say.
Explain it to me.
You want me to give you more examples of things? Yes. Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you going to do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say,
I'm a grown man. I got way too much to worry about.
Black people are allowed to say that there is a systemic fraud issue within the PP loan application in black America. Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. If most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want. So black individuals have much more intellectual public freedom than white people do. If a white person were to come up and say, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and it needs to actually have monopoly.
Why would you?
Because it's true. Because
why would you just walk up to someone and talk and attack their culture from the outside?
Well, hold on. Hold on. Let's look at the evidence. You said to myself, there's all these people suffering in Chicago. There's all these people that are terrible. I'm telling you why. It's because there's been bad decisions that have been institutionalized. Let me finish. And rap artists and athletes and people at the top level of black society that refuse to ever challenge the core rot in black America, which is that they are allowing degeneracy and hedonism to eat the soul of what once was a beautiful black culture, and instead they go around saying it's the boogeyman of racism, the white man is out to get you, and the result is black America is doing worse than it was in the 1960s. That is the contention. Period.
It's not just it's a culture. It's so much deeper than the present day we are in. I don't know why you're pretending like it just doesn't matter.
What doesn't matter? You mean things that happen? Again, I've been through this multiple times. Let me just ask you.
But you're not listening to understand. You're listening to reply.
No, I'm doing both actually. And so, but let me just ask one final question, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that you have your entire future ahead of you. Mm-hmm. When you are hired for a job, would you rather be hired because of your race or because of how qualified you are?
It doesn't boil down to just that.
That's what DEI is, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is definitionally the hiring of people.
They're not just going to immediately see. You
get extra points if you're black with DEI. That's how it works. Racial quotas elevate people based on the color of their skin.
So do you think I got extra points to come here?
I don't know. You said you were qualified, but affirmative action was institutionalized in Harvard and in Texas and a lot of other places. There is nothing that is preventing black people from prospering. Nothing. The only thing is that you guys have been hypnotized to be victims of your own mind, to think as if there's a white person out to get you. I walk in the grocery store, they look at me differently. All that stuff is complete rubbish. The thing that is preventing you...
life experiences, you're just denying my experience I just shared to you in front of all these people.
If you think that, okay, let me just be very clear.
I know.
America has come really far if your best example of racism is getting bad looks in a grocery store. We have made incredible racial moral progress.
That's only my experience. There are so many other people
I'm happy to hear every example that they have. It boils down to this. We are not just a racist country, we are the least racist country ever to exist. We go out of our way not to be called the R word, to demonstrate that we aren't racist, to show to people that I have compassion for others and that I want to try to help people of different skin color. But at its fundamental core, I have to go back to this. I don't actually think skin color matters that much. I don't. I want a country that aims towards MLK's dream of one based on content of character and one on competency. I think the hyper-race obsession of this country is really bad. It's really bad for everybody involved, including Black America. And I would just ask you, what would you do to improve the material well-being of Black America? What is your solution?
Education.
Okay, we've spent trillions of dollars on education.
It's not
trillions.
You need to fundamentally change the system of education because there's not enough funding. Teachers are not paid enough anywhere. Let's be honest. We need to seriously fix our education, especially when public school education comes from property taxes. When you're in a low-income neighborhood, you're not going to get high-income teachers.
If you had to choose more money for education or more dads for Black kids, what would you say?
That goes hand in hand. Education goes into
I agree.
Family
That's
planning.
why if we get more dads into homes, it starts solving the problem.
No, education is what solves the problem.
Well, hold on. But again, if you're just educating and there's not a dad at home reinforcing it, we've seen this play out. We see this in Chicago. In Baltimore, we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars in Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit. We have entire classes of kids that can't read at grade level. We have incredible examples of this. And it goes back to this. If you want to have a privileged life in America, very simple. Start acting a certain way. Our belief system is that you come down to the most foundational family unit. And when that breaks down so severely, don't be shocked if that group, when it acts that way, stays in poverty over a longer period of time. Asians are incredibly loyally married. It's one of the reasons why Asian Americans do so well in this country. Hispanics do very well. White Americans increasingly are not doing as well.
They also came here by choice too. My ancestors did not come here by choice, but
so
we don't have to go
again,
too far into that.
We don't have to go into that. I want to get to the next question. Again, you should be kissing the ground because you're right. You didn't come here by choice. But
why are you telling me to?
Hold on, I'm telling you right now. You should be kissing the ground with gratitude because you're right. You are not in Africa. And you should be thankful you're not in Africa, that you're in the United States of America. That's my end of contention. Thank you very
much. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.
Please return to the Doc Greene Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
Thanks for sticking with me to the final segment today. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on Rumble, please like and share. Like and share. And of course, leave a comment. I appreciate that. So moving right along, a lot of you guys out there have small companies and you need a little bit of help in human resources. So let me suggest this for you.
Sorry for interrupting.
What's up, Weddle?
I'm having a bit of a payroll issue.
Hey, you're not getting your raise way.
It's rude, but no, that's not what I mean. I keep getting paid in cash.
What's the problem?
I asked for direct deposit.
Johnny, this is a Greene company.
Yeah, direct deposit's paperless.
Well, as in we get paid in Greene way.
How am I supposed to know how much tax is getting taken out?
You're funny, bro! Look, Johnny, we make sure the government gets what it deserves and what you deserve.
What am I supposed to tell my accountant?
Que se vaya la verga. Because you're going to be using our accountant.
No se agüita, güero. I'll take care of you.
Don't worry, Johnny. He's going to make sure your taxes are in good shape. Oh, and by the way, he also does tile and window tint.
The best.
Why you gotta make everything so hard, right? Anyway, as promised in the intro, sometimes I like to introduce you to some music that you may have missed. Any REO Speedwagon fans out there? Well, check this out. And by the way, it's better on video.
Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another. You were messing around. They say you got a boyfriend. You're out late every weekend. They're talking about you and it's bringing me down. Well, I know the neighborhood, and talk is cheap when the story is good, and tales they could taller down the line. Well, I'm telling you, baby, that I think it's true, baby, and even if it is, keep this in mind. Take it on the road, baby, if that's the way you want it, baby, then I don't want you around. Well, I don't believe it, not for a minute. You're already gone, so you take it on the road. You're thinking of your white lies, put it on your bedroom mat. You say you're coming home, but you won't say when. Oh, I can feel it coming. If you leave tonight, keep running, and you need never look back again. Oh, take it on the run, baby. If that's the way you want it, baby, then I don't want you around. Oh, I don't believe it, not for a minute. You're already gone, so you take it on the road. Take it on the run, baby. If that's what you wanted, baby, then I don't want you around. Oh, well, I don't believe it, not for a minute. You're already gone, so you take it on the road. You take it on the run, baby. If that's the way you want it, baby, then I don't want you around me. I don't believe it, but not for a minute. You're already gone, so you take it on the road. Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another. You were messing around.
Hope you enjoyed that. That is the Postmodern Jukebox, and they've got a lot of great videos, and the girls are really pretty, and the music's amazing. So anyway, check that out. Well, as you know, we are now in the midst of the longest government shutdown in history. Never has the government been shut down this long. The Schumer shutdown, as it is known, is continuing because they want $1.5 trillion to give out to their illegal alien friends and family because they don't care about Americans. Democrats, and if you're a Democrat, you need to know this. Democrats represent the criminal element of the world. They're only interested in promoting criminality, and they don't care which illegal aliens they bring in, and they don't care how much it costs. I mean, I was listening to Governor Pritzker complaining about the fact that it cost $90 million a month just to feed all the illegal aliens in Chicago. And he's mad because the federal government's not picking up the tab, yet he's the one who's making it hard for ICE to get rid of the people that don't belong here. The truth is simply this. America was built by our forefathers. In my particular case, my grandfather and his father before him, and of course my own father, which wore the uniform for some 35 years. We built America. We did the things that made America great. And America is not great because it's a magical land where everything just turns to gold. No, America is great because of the hard work of Americans. And they've done studies worldwide and found that Americans work more hours than anyone else on the globe. So that's why America is great. And of course, now a lot of these welfare queens, as they call themselves, are finding out that they might have to get a job, and it really worries them. As one woman was complaining, well, it's going to take time away from my children. Yes, all of us had to do that. I had to do that. It's very sad, but I worked very hard for most of my life, and I very seldom ever got out to see one of my children at a high school play or a high school concert because I was working 12, 14-hour days, 5, 6, 7 days a week in order to make ends meet. My worst week was 100 hours, and that's what I had to do because I didn't have a college degree, and college degrees were kind of important. Now, later in life, I got college degrees, but unfortunately, they were in things that really don't help me make any money. So here we are. Now you got the first communist ever in Zoran Magdami, and he wants everything free in New York. I talked about that on the show yesterday. Free food, free buses, free child care. Everything is going to be free in New York right now. And if you're a landowner, you can't raise the rent on your property. Of course, that means that those people that bought real estate in New York City with the hopes that it would provide them a comfortable retirement are now finding themselves in a real predicament. But here's what's very cool. Ron DeSantis said, hey, if you're a cop in New York, they don't want you there. They hate you. They're going to make your life difficult. Why don't you come down here and be a cop in Florida? We'll give you a $5,000 bonus just for signing up. And of course, the cost of living in Florida is roughly half of what it is in New York. So you're going to get a fat pay raise all the way around. And you're going to live in a society where people appreciate law and order and won't be fighting you and making your life difficult everywhere you look. So why risk your life for a mayor that hates you and believes you shouldn't even have a police department? Well, DeSantis, who was elected by a hair's breadth margin in 2018, won a resounding re-election because people said, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. And then he signed a bill in 2022 creating the recruitment bonus for law enforcement personnel that would move in from other states. So the country was still coming out of the defund the police mania that swept the cities back when George Soros was buying all of the DAs. In the last budget, City Council tried to make New York Police Department reduce its overtime budget by half, and they simply refused. So anyway, we've got a real governor down there in Florida, and he's doing the right thing. He said, look, come on down here. We'll give you a $5,000 signing bonus. Housing is much cheaper than it is in New York. You're going to live a better quality lifestyle. Why would you not want to do that? So my cat over on X said, NYPD will relocate to Florida. K. Trump Girl said, thank you, Ron, for supporting our officers. Now, the naysayers pointed out that there's likely a considerable difference in pay between New York salaries, where officers started around $60,000 a year. But you see, $60,000 a year in New York City is about $25,000 a year in Texas or Florida. So you don't need to make as much money if everything costs less. So this is going to be a good deal. So would the last honest person that leaves New York City or leaves the New York Police Department, don't forget to turn out the lights, because after all, we don't want to be wasting money.
Pro-marriage tip. If you find that your wife has become hysterical and angry, the worst thing you could do is tell her to calm down. If you really want to get a word in and have her not speak for a little bit so that you can talk, just let her know that she is starting to act like her mother. And you didn't sign up to marry her mother, because if you did, you'd have a clean house and a home-cooked meal.
Michael, no!
That's going to do it for me on this Saturday show. Thank all of you guys for being part of the show today. Please go to the Doc Greene channel on Rumble and sign up, because a lot of this video stuff is really funny and you'll really enjoy it over there. And of course, you can also find Doc Greene, 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 right there on YouTube. I got a channel there. And of course, my bands, the Greene Brothers Band, which is going to be playing at Parfest this year. Parfest.com, PARRFEST.com. All the proceeds going to help get the homeless off the street in Katy, Texas. So please get your Parfest tickets right away. Even if you can't drive all the way over to Houston, please get your Parfest tickets. See you guys on Monday, God willing.
You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.